Well, joining me on this debate tonight, I have, of course, Law Minister Salman Khurshid. He's, of course, an MP from Uttar Pradesh as well. I'm also joined by Malika Sarabhai, a well-known artist and activist from Ahmedabad. With me in studio is Madhu Kishwar, editor of Manushi, and also professor at CSDS, and Rahul Ishwar, spokesperson of the Sabarimala Temple. Thank you all very much for joining me. Mr. Khurshid, I did say let you go, so first over to you. Sri Sri Ravishankar, in his press conference today, saying the Congress is scared of his Yatra. What do you feel? And do you feel this is something that are spiritual leaders stepping dangerously close into the political arena? Are the lines blurring? Is that a good thing?
Well, it's how would they feel if we started getting into spirituality? I think that each one of us have our area of expertise and our area of operation and an area of accountability. And I would imagine that some of these things should be best left to politicians and people in public life. But of course, this is a democracy and nobody can be prohibited or restricted or confined to any area. If they want to move on to other areas and certainly want to participate in public discourse in whichever manner they wish to do so. Yatras are becoming very popular, so I can only wish him best, and I hope that he succeeds in his objective, because that's an objective that we don't disagree with. The objective is that we must have good governance in this country and no corruption. And if somebody wants to espouse that, we have no problem.
Right. Though, of course, Mr. Khurshid, the beginning of your answer started a bit different, started differently and it ended differently. And of course, your colleague, Mr. Digvijay Singh, seems to feel that this is part of a larger RSS-BJP conspiracy. Your comments on that? And surely corruption is something any Indian can join in the fight against.
Mr. Digvijay Singh is a very senior leader and he's the General Secretary of our party, and he's looking after affairs in UP, and he obviously has his information and his sources, and he would speak of that information and sources in the manner in which he thinks it's appropriate. And I think that the job that he has to do on behalf of the party is clearly defined, and the job that we have to do on behalf of the government is clearly defined. And we may complement and supplement each other, but there is no reason necessarily for us to comment on what we are doing.
Mr. Khurshid, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thanks for your comments. And Madhu Kishwar, come in here. Salman Khurshid, I think, started off with what's the normal instinct of any politician. Why are these people coming in on our turf? By the end, he was a bit more diplomatic. What's your take on this? Do you think this is a wise step by Sri Sri Ravishankar? Because we've seen what happened with Baba Ramdev and other spiritual leaders who earlier dabbled in politics. It's never ended well.
To begin with, I think Congress party spokesperson would learn a lot from the dignified manner in which Salman Khurshid always responds. And Mr. Digvijay Singh seems to be laboring under the illusion that the moment he says XYZ is BJP inspired, he's damned it all and he's said it all.
RSS is his
BJP, RSS. It doesn't work. Today, the entire country is deeply agitated over corruption, including those who may not agree with the formula that the team Anna has proposed, even those who might want an improved version of those anti-corruption mechanisms. But as far as religious leaders are concerned, we know it, and your own program showed it very clearly, that politicians not only use but also actively patronize spiritual gurus. And secondly, if you can use them, they are also free to come on their own initiative. It's also a sign of the political vacuum created by our mainstream parties. Because of the low credibility of mainstream politics, mainstream politicians, the NGOs are trying to fill that gap. So are also spiritual gurus. And considering that the mass base that Sri Sri Ravishankar or even Yoga Guru Ramdev have, they're not like Swami Dhirendra Brahmachari. They were patronized by the political establishment.
No, of course,
but these guys have a large mass base.
I know, to rival any politician. That's an interesting point.
No, a larger. No politician in this country can get together 3, 4, 5 lakh people without spending crores of rupees.
And trucks to get them in.
And trucks too.
That's an interesting...
And these guys have people flocking to them.
No, and I think that point you made is an interesting one, that actually the transition on the spiritual gurus we showed in the Indira Gandhi years and the Narasimha Rao years,
patronized.
And now they've actually taken over, as it were. They're almost parallel, or as you said, have more of a mass base than the politicians.
And independent financial base.
Let me bring in Rahul Ishwar at that point. Power can always be heady, and it's dangerous. The point Madhu Kishwar made, that it's on a spiritual side, that nobody would ever question the numbers, the people flocking in, and even the money and where it's coming from. Now, when Baba Ramdev came in or tried to enter the political arena, we saw the whole weight that came of the government establishment against him, raising questions on where his money, etc., is coming from. Do you think these tactics actually are used to discredit spiritual leaders? Do you think spiritual leaders should actually stay away from what's seen as a dirty game of politics?
Even though it is not advisable for religious leaders to directly interfere or endorse party A or B, but spiritual leaders should not shy away from taking responsibility in social, cultural and political spheres. Spiritual leaders should actively intervene in uplifting social and political arenas. One example you missed out in NDTV was the example of the father of our nation, who was as much a spiritual leader as much as a political leader he was. So they should be involved in uplifting, because India is a secular as well as spiritually rich cultural nation. So the pulse of the nation is spirituality, and they should not shy away. I'm not saying all saffron-clad Babas are good. There are many people, even from the time of Ravana, he wore a saffron robe and kidnapped Sita, to even nowadays, where Swamis are more interested in reality TV than the reality of Indian situation. There are many fake and pseudo coins, but we should understand, it's always remember, it is not a question of God men. It is a question of good men versus bad men. It's a question of Baba versus black sheep. So we should choose good men who can inspire people, who can involve in socio, cultural and political arenas. And we should never forget, one of the first Indian freedom struggles is the Sannyasi rebellion, where Hindu sannyasis, fakirs have all joined hands against the foreign rule.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.